Hello everyone, this is KD here. Today I'm going to read out the summary for you in this video. What is summary? Summary means the whole story in a nutshell. That's mean the complete story in short is called a summary. So I am reading out the summary for you so that you can understand the chapter well. Listen properly and attentively. Many years ago in Holland lived a bright young 8-year-old boy called Hans Brinker. He was a caring and selfless boy. His father's job was to open and close the large gates to control the canal water so that the land would not get flooded. It was a very important job. One spring morning, Hans' mother made his favorite cake and he wanted to share it with a poor old man who lived on the other side of the dike. He went to the old man, who was delighted to have the cake. He started for home on the path that lay beside the dike. He was fascinated with the beautiful flowers growing on the grassy banks and stopped to pluck a few for his mother. The sun was going down and he was still far from his home when he heard the sound of trickling water. He found it coming from a small hole in the dike. I should tell you what is a dike. Dike is a slope or wall built on the banks of a river or canal to prevent floods. एक दीवार का स्लोपी झुका हुआ एक किनारा नदी के किनारे में लगाया जाता है जो बांध या पानी को आने से रोकता है. इसी को डाइक कहते हैं. So he found it coming from a small hole in the dike. He knew that it would soon grow bigger and the water would come flowing out, causing a flood. So he put his finger in the hole and waited for someone to come. He kept sitting there, but no one came. And he had to stay there all night in the cold, afraid and alone. His finger and soon his arm and entire body was in pain, but he did not pull out his finger. See the dedication of this boy, who is sacrificing his sleep, who is taking pain for whom? For his people, for his village people, for his country, because he doesn't want anyone to be in problem with the flowing water that is coming out of dikes here. In this way, The morning came. Early in the morning, a laborer returning home found him and called others for help. This brave and selfless act of the little boy saved the town of Holland and a great part of Holland. In this way, though a small part of Holland, though it is a village, but this 8-year-old boy, Hans Brinker, has saved his people, this part of the land, the whole village. So we can see this boy has taught us the sense of sacrifice, the sense of living for others. हम लोग अपनी जिंदगी देकर दूसरों के लिए कैसे खुशी ला सकते हैं, इस लड़के हैंस ब्रिंकर ने सिखाया. उसकी हाथ दुखती रही, दर्द होता रहा, पर उसने डाइक से अपना उंगली नहीं हटाया ताकि पानी अंदर ना आ जाए, भीतर ना आ जाए और उसका गांव भस न जाए. पूरी रात उसने अपनी उंगली को दबाकर डाइक्स के होल से निकलते हुए पानी को रोके रखा. तो वी शुड नॉट फॉरगेट द सैक्रिफाइस एंड ब्रेवरी ऑफ दिस यंग बॉय हैंस ब्रिंकर, whom the Holland people still remember him for his bravery and for his great sacrifice. I hope through this summary you have understood the whole story in short and have no confusion. In this video, with the help of the cartoon animation, the chapter has been explained properly. You will like it, and I hope you will understand this video nicely and enjoy this video. So keep watching the video. Happy watching. Understand the chapter well, attentively. Try to use headphone so that sound clarity should be good and you can understand the chapter properly. Thank you.
Brave Hans. To do a good thing, you do not have to wait to grow up. You can do good things at a very young age. If you want to help others, you will always find an opportunity to do so. At any moment, you can do something to help your friends, parents, or even strangers. You do not need money, but a good heart to help others. Here is the true story of a boy called Hans, who saved his town from a certain disaster. Hans was a young schoolboy. He lived with his parents in a small village in Holland. He was a hard-working and worthy son of his parents. He used to help his parents at home. One day, he was returning from his school. The way to school was near the seawall. Suddenly, he heard a sound of trickle of water nearby. He became alert, because people in Holland were always cautious about any possible seepage in the seawall. Hans moved towards the sound and found a trickle of water coming through a small hole. He knew The pressure of seawater would make the hole bigger in no time. He didn't know what to do. He wanted to send a message to his village people. Meanwhile, the hole was becoming bigger and bigger, and the seawater was gushing out. He inserted his whole hand into the hole to plug it. It worked, and the flow of water stopped. It had already become dark, but nobody happened to pass by through that way. The whole night passed, and Hans did not see anyone who could help him. But his firm determination to save his village from a disaster kept him in his place. By morning, his body had become stiff with cold and he had fainted. In the early morning, a workman saw Hans lying unconscious with his right hand in the hole in the sea wall. He understood that Hans was trying to stop the flow of water. He first took out Hans' hand from the hole and filled up the hole with stones, and then carried Hans in his arms to his home. Hans lay in bed for several days, and when he recovered, he cried out in a feeble voice,
"Please God, send someone to help me. I can't leave this place."
Don't worry, my brave little boy. The sea wall has been repaired.
In another few weeks, Hans recovered completely. He became the hero of his village. The people of that village came and thanked Hans.
You risked your life to save our village. We shall never forget this kind act of yours. We only wish that all children should grow up like you, to be ready to sacrifice their lives for their country.
Discussing the story in your Class 4 English Literature syllabus, The Little Boy Who Saved Holland. It is a story about a 10-year-old boy, Hans Brinker, who lived in Haarlem. Haarlem is a city in Holland, formerly known as the Netherlands. Hans Brinker was a bright, friendly, caring and selfless boy who always wished to share everything he had. He lived with his father and his mother. His father worked at the dike. Now, what is a dike? A dike is a slope or wall built on the bank of a river or canal to prevent floods. His father's job was to open and close their large gates at the entrance of the canals to control the flow of water. He had to close the gates very carefully and timely at night, otherwise the water soon overflow and would change it into a destructive flood. A big part of Holland was lower than the sea level, and Hollanders used heaps of soil to save their lands and construct dikes and barriers. So Hans' father's job was extremely important and valuable because a moment's neglect could cause a shattering flood and devastation. Now students, we know a lot about Hans' family. Now we will talk about the particular day when the incident happened. It was a bright spring day. Hans' mother made the day happier by preparing his favorite cake. He ate some of it and didn't forget about the poor blind friend who lived on the other side of the dike. He decided to share his cake with the man too. Hans promised his father to return soon and took the basket of cake and went to meet his friend. The old man was joyful to have the cake. Hans spent 1 hour there and then he was on his way back to home. There was beautiful, attractive wild flowers on the grassy banks beside the dike. Hans plucked a bunch of them for his mother. He was returning home content and was humming a happy song. Along the canal, he thought about his father's careful and strong job, who contributed every day for keeping his country safe. If he didn't, the amazing and productive fields would soon be hidden under the angry waters. Hans assumed that the water was angry with his father for keeping them out for a long time. He also listened to the secret sound of a rabbit in the grass and he smiled, recalling his friend's cheerful face. Suddenly he noticed the setting sun and found the blue flowers to be turned into grey as it was growing dark. Instantly his ears caught the sound of the trickling water. He looked up and encountered a small hole in the dike. A tiny stream of water was flowing through it. Hans realized that the leak would soon outcome as an awful flood. But this brave little fellow accepted his duty and reached the leak with a lot of trouble. He thrust his chubby little finger in the hole and decided he would not let Harlan drown as he was there. The falling night brought chilly cold with it. Hans called for his mother and the villagers loudly. His chattered teeth did not let him whistle, but his utmost determination made him conquer his body ache and sleep till daylight, even in that piercing cold. Our little angel sat upon a stone halfway up the dike and awaiting someone to come. His willpower helped him not to draw away his finger. Hans seized the leak and prevented the angry waters from rushing forth over his town. At daybreak, a laborer was returning from work and found a child twisting with pain. All the villagers came hurriedly to take care of the situation further. The country Holland is indebted and thankful to their brave little hero as he protected his country from destruction. I hope this video has helped you to understand the chapter better. Now you need to read and prepare the chapter carefully and go through each and every line of the story.
The Little Dutch Boy.
One day, a little boy called Hans was walking to a friend's house. The day was cold and blustery, but Hans wanted to take some hot cakes to his friend. Hans lived in Holland where many dikes held back the sea. The land was used for planting wheat for bread. The townspeople made brick walls around the town. These brick walls were called dikes. The dikes held back the sea and kept the fields from flooding. Hans was hurrying back from his friend's house when the weather became stormy. The wind whipped at his scarf and burned his cheeks. Suddenly, Hans saw a hole in the dike. He knew that such a hole was very bad because it could become a bigger hole. Hans was afraid that the sea might flood the town. The wheat crops would die and the townspeople would starve. Hans did not know what to do at first, so he ran to town to try and find help. He called out, but no one could hear him because the wind was blowing so hard. He had to fix the problem on his own. Hans went back to the dike.
What can I do?
He thought.
Oh, what can I do? I am only one little boy.
Finally, he got an idea. He wrapped his scarf around his hand and pushed his fist into the hole. This stopped the water from coming through the dike.
I must be strong,
thought Hans.
I must be as brave as a man.
The stormy night went on and on. Hans was weary.
I am so tired, but I must hold back the sea.
Morning finally came, and the storm had passed. An old man discovered Hans with his hand still in the dike. He was shivering and almost dead from the cold.
Hans had held back the sea all night. The town bricklayers came running to help fix the dike. They quickly sealed the hole, and Hans was saved. Hans was bundled up in warm clothes. He was very tired, but he was smiling in the warm morning sun.
Hello, this is KD. I hope you like the video. So keep on watching the video. All the best and good luck.